viewers, welcome to my YouTube channel, Mathematics Made Easy. So in today's video, we'll be solving this beautiful question. So if the Wronskian of f comma g is equal to 3 multiplied by e raised to the power of 4t and f is equal to e raised to the power of 2t, so we have to find g. Okay, so before we dive into the solution, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel, like my video, comment and share. So how are we going to find g? Okay, so to solve for g, so let's make use of the definition for the Wronskian function. So given that Wronskian of f comma g, so this will be equal to the determinant of this 2 by 2 matrix f prime g prime. So we find the determinants of this matrix, so that is f g prime, then minus g f prime. Okay, so the determinants of this will give us the Wronskian. So and then given that f is e raised to the power of 2t. Okay, so since we know that f is equal to e raised to the power of 2t, then what will be f prime? So f prime will be equal to the derivative of e raised to the power of 2t. So if we differentiate this with respect to t, we are going to get 2 multiplied by e raised to the power of 2t. So that is f prime. Okay, so let's substitute f and f prime into these results there. Okay, so then we are going to have e raised to the power of 2t, then multiply by g prime. So you can bring it out, g prime. Okay, then minus g multiplied by f prime, and then f prime is 2e raised to the power of 2t. Okay, so you can write it this way, 2g e raised to the power of 2t, and everything is equal to 3e raised to the power of 4t. Now, what do we notice in this left-hand side? We can see that e raised to the power of 2t is common. So since e raised to the power of 2t is common, so we can factor out e raised to the power of 2t. So if we factor out e raised to the power of 2t, so we are going to have e raised to the power of 2t then into g prime minus 2g equal 3 multiplied by e raised to the power of 4t. The next thing we are going to do now is to divide both sides by e raised to the power of 2t. Okay, so if we do that, we're going to have g prime minus 2g equals, you can see e raised to the power of 4t divided by e raised to the power of 2t. It means e raised to the power of 4t multiplied by e raised to the power of negative 2t. Then if we apply the law of indices, okay, so if we apply the law of indices, we are going to have e raised to the power of 4t minus 2t, which will give us e raised to the power of 2t. Okay, so we have 3 multiplied by e raised to the power of 2t. Now this is beautiful. So we have a linear differential equation right here, or the first order of the differential equation. Okay, so now let's solve that for us to be able to solve for g. So what you have now is g prime minus 2g equal 3 multiplied by e raised to the power of 2t. Now let's make use of the integrating factor method. Okay, so using the method of integrating factors, now let's solve for the first order differential equation. Now, given the general form of a differential equation, we have y prime plus p of xy, so which is equal to q of x. Okay, so we can relate this differential equation right here to this. Okay, so where p of x is equal to -2 out together. All right, let me quickly give us the formula for calculating the integrating factor. So the integrating factor mu of t, since we are dealing with t here, let's say this is x, so definitely that will be mu of x. Okay, but since we are dealing with t, so that will be mu of t equals e raised to the power of integral of p of t dt. Beautiful. Now our P of t will be what? Negative 2. If you equate this equation right here to this equation right here, okay? So P of t will be negative 2. So we have mu of t is equal to e raised to the power of integral. Don't forget this is the exponential. So and then P of t is negative 2, then dt. Alright, so if we integrate negative 2, so you are going to have negative 2t, okay? So you are going to have e raised to the power of negative 2t. That is the integrating factor. So the next thing we are going to do now is to multiply this our first order differential equation by our integrating factor, okay, which is e raised to the power of negative 2t. So if you do that, you are going to have e raised to the power of negative 2t, then multiply by this whole what differential equation, that is multiplied by g prime minus 2g, which is equal to 3 multiplied by e raised to the power of 2t. Now, if we do that, e raised to the power of negative 2t multiplied by g prime, so we are going to have g prime e raised to the power of negative 2t, then minus, so e raised to the power of negative 2t multiplied by minus 2g, so we have minus 2g e raised to the power of negative 2t, so which is equal to, now 3 e raised to the power of 2t multiplied by e raised to the power of negative 2t. Don't forget that e raised to the power of 2t times e raised to the power of negative 2t. We apply law of indices. E raised to the power of 2t minus 2t, which is equal to e raised to the power of 0, which is 1. Okay, so e raised to the power of negative 2t times 3 e raised to the power of 2t, that will be 3 multiplied by 1, so which is equal to 3. Now, this is where the reward comes in. You have to be very careful. Okay, so I want to rewrite g prime e raised to the power of negative 2t minus 2g e raised to the power of negative 2t as a single function. Okay, so how are we going to do that? Now let me quickly recall the product rule. Okay, so from the product rule, don't forget that we can let u of t, so if I let u of t to be equal to this e raised to the power of negative 2t, okay, e raised to the power of negative 2t, and if I can let v of t be equal to the second function, which is g of t, okay, be equal to g of t. All right, now from the product rule, if you have d dt of u of t multiplied by v of t, this will be equal to, the first thing you are going to do is to differentiate the first function with respect to t, then you multiply by what? V of t. Okay, so that will be u prime of t, then multiply by v of t, then you add plus the next thing, you differentiate the second function, which is v prime of t, then you multiply by this function here, which is u of t. Okay, so that will be v prime of t, then multiply by u of t. So that is the what? That is the product rule. Now, if you find u prime of t, you are going to get negative 2 e raised to the power of negative 2t. Then if you multiply by v of t, you are going to have this. Okay, so which is this? Then v prime of t, if you differentiate g of t, you are going to have what? G prime. Okay, then multiply by u of t, which is e raised to the power of negative 2t, you are going to have this. So definitely that shows that this whole differential equation, if I write it as a single function, it means what? It means d dt then of what? G e raised to the power of negative 2t. Beautiful. Are we together? So we write it as a what? As a product function. Okay, we write it as a product function. So this is u, and this is, and this is your v. This is your u and this is your v. So if you differentiate this, you are going to get this back using the product rule. You can see that this is very beautiful. Now, since we've written this as a single function, so now let's move on. So this means d of d, d dt, g raised to the power of negative 2t, so which is equal to 3. Now let's complete the solution. Let's move to the next page. So we have d dt of g e raised to the power of negative 2t, so which is equal to 3. Now the next thing you are going to do is to integrate both sides with respect to t. So integrating both sides with respect to t, so we have dt here, we have dt here. Okay, so if you integrate this dt, don't forget, whenever you have a function d dt of f of t dt, once you integrate it, this will surely give us what? F of t. All right, so if we integrate this, so this will surely give us what? G e raised to the power of negative 2t. And then if you integrate 3 dt, this will give us what? 3 dt. Now don't forget you want to find g, so the next thing you are going to do is what? You divide both sides by e raised to the power of negative 2t. Okay, and then it also means that you multiply both sides by what? E raised to the power of 2t all together. So if we do that, we are going to have g is equal to e raised to the power of 2t. That is, you multiply both sides by e raised to the power of 2t. And please, I forgot to put the constancy here. Okay, into bracket 3t plus c, and that's our g. Okay, so that is that about that. All right, so if you like this kind of video, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel, like my videos, comment and share. Thanks for watching. See you next time.